good to go. All right, I am told we are good to go. So those who are joining us online, you're welcome to join us. So I will call the Tuesday, January 10th, 2023 council meeting to order, and just say I hope everybody had a really good Christmas and holiday season. It's nice to see everybody back joining us today. I will begin with a land acknowledgement that the City of Fort Saskatchewan is located within Treaty 6 territory and Métis Nation of Alberta Region 4, the ancestral and traditional territory of the Nihilwak, Dene, Blackfoot, Saulteaux, Nakota Sioux, and Métis. And we acknowledge the many First Nations, Métis and Inuit, whose footsteps have marked these lands for generations. It is because of our treaty relationship that we can now live, work, and play on Treaty 6 territory. Thank you. All right, so we do not have consent agenda today, but I do need a motion to amend the agenda to add item 6.3, which would be to cancel the January 17th Committee of the Whole meeting. If somebody would like to make that motion. Councillor Nguyen.
Be happy to make the first motion of the new year, and it was a meeting that I would have chaired. So I'll move that council cancel the Committee of the Whole meeting dated January 17th, 2023.
No, I just need a motion to amend the agenda to add 6.3.
Okay.
And we will deal with that
Sorry, I was
later.
reading it off the email. So I'll move that council. Am I not reading that?
Okay.
Yeah, so
Yep.
that council amend
Okay.
the January 10, 2023 agenda to add the following under new business: cancellation of January 17, 2023 Committee of the Whole meeting.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, good. Thank you. So I'll close the motion. Please cast your vote. Okay, and that is carried unanimously. And I will take a motion to approve the minutes of December 13th, 2022. Somebody would like to make that motion? Councillor Macon.
I'll make the motion that we approve the minutes of the December 13th, 2022 regular council meeting.
Thank you. Are there any errors or omissions? Not seeing or hearing any. I will close the motion. Please cast your vote. And that is carried unanimously. Thank you. We do have one delegation, Greg Fedorik, regarding the tax waiver. So I would invite Greg to come online with us, and you will have 5 minutes to present. And then at the end of that, if anybody has any questions for you, that's when they would ask them. So you may go ahead.
So I don't have a lot to present other than the form that I filled out and submitted on behalf of my father. He passed away of cancer June 2nd, which didn't leave me a lot of time as an executor to get the banking stuff, affairs and whatnot in order, to pay the taxes on time. Plus, being a hard-headed old Ukrainian, he didn't give me a lot of leeway prior to his passing to deal with stuff and get affairs in order. So with that, I was left a bit shorthanded in the bank account and whatnot to get the stuff paid up and get everything up to date, which led us into the penalties that we were assessed. And I guess I'm just asking for a little bit of forgiveness on that. I've secured the funds to pay the account up now. I've also secured enough funds to be ready to pay taxes for this upcoming year. It would just be nice, seeing that the estate is low on funds, to not have that penalty assessed against it. I think, as many of you know, my father was a 30-year firefighter in the community. Pretty upstanding guy. Just asking for a little bit of forgiveness on his part.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll just ask if any members of council have any questions, and I'll just say that I am very sorry for your loss. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions. So, Greg, this actually will be our first. Oh, sorry. Okay, this will be our first item of business after your presentation. So, you are welcome to stay on if you like and hear the result of that. All right, so we will move on to 2022 property tax waiver request, and Trish Norman will present.
Good afternoon, Your Worship and members of Council. My name is Trish Norman, Revenue Services Coordinator with the City. I'm here this afternoon to request Council's decision regarding the property tax penalty waiver application received for tax roll 402-1000. On December 23rd, 2022, the City of Fort Saskatchewan received an application from property owner requesting a waiver for property tax late payment penalties in accordance with the property tax penalty waiver policy and procedure. As of December 15th, 2022, the property owner has paid the full balance of outstanding property tax arrears, including late payment penalties, in the amount of $648.98. The property owner has consequently made an application for council to consider late payment penalty reimbursement under compassionate grounds. Administration is not authorized to make this decision, as only council has the authority to waive late payment penalties for property taxes. Administration's recommendation is to grant the request to waive the late payment penalties. This recommendation to grant the request to waive the late payment penalties is based on the requirements of the property tax penalty waiver policy and procedure, whereby council may consider waiver under compassionate grounds where the property taxes were not paid by the payment due date as a result of death in the immediate family occurring on or immediately prior to the payment due date. And I may now answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions of Trish? Councillor Abatoye?
Yes, thank you, Trish, for your presentation. Actually, when I read this part of the package, I had to go back and read it twice because I'm like, administration is actually recommending that we waive the fees, but absolutely understand why. But my question though is, on the policy, on the compassionate grounds, other than death, which obviously is very sad and is something that can be very grievous. There's other reasons that why under compassionate grounds the council would waive fees. My question is, why hasn't administration recommended a waiver before now? Like, again, I understand these circumstances, but the other reasons under the policy that we can waive the fees. Why haven't we seen this recommendation from administration before now?
Through your worship to Councillor Abatoye, this application was very clearly fell within the guidelines that the policy and procedure set out. So administration felt that it was indeed clear that it would fall
So I
within
know my
those
question is kind
guidelines.
of philosophical because again, I'm saying not this specific request, right? But just like under the policy, we have things like if people had like health related issues, and we've had requests from people that had health related issues that administration said asked to deny the request.
Through your worship, Councillor Abatoye, in the past, the applications were not necessarily as cut and dried as the information presented here, and would be more discretionary for council's decision or for council's consideration.
Thank you. And it's a trick question, but thank you. Appreciate the response.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Kelly, questions?
Yes, thank you. I had to re-sign in again right at the end of Greg's short presentation. So if this question was asked and I missed it, I apologize. Trish or Greg, I assume that the house in question, the property in question, was owned by your father, is now part of the estate?
Yeah, yes, it is.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Did you have any other questions, Councillor Kelly?
No, that's good. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. All right, what is the wish of council? Oh, I've got Councillor Harris.
I'd be prepared for the motion on the floor.
Okay, go ahead.
To that end, I would move that council grant the request to waive the late payment penalties applied to Associated Property Tax Roll 402-1000 on July 1st, August 1st, and September 1st in the amount of $648.98.
Thank you. I'll accept the motion. Would you like to speak in favor of it?
Yeah, as you know, I'm generally the Grinch at Christmas who doesn't believe in waiving penalties because I think there are responsibilities. However, in accordance with our policy, this one is fairly clear, and I have had a number of conversations with Greg, and I respect the fact that they were having some interesting challenges, obviously within the context of what they have to do to put the estate in order. On that basis, I think this one's justifiable and on that basis. And I guess in answer to Councillor Batoye's earlier question, I'm not so sure, and as Ms. Norman has indicated, this one's pretty clear. The other ones were kind of a little bit more gray, and so I couldn't support them in the past. This one I can, and that's why I'm putting the motion on the floor.
Okay, thank you. The motion is now open for discussion and debate. Okay, not seeing any discussion and debate. Councillor Harris, anything on close?
No.
You're good. I will close the motion as presented that it is granted. Please cast your vote. The motion is carried 6-1. So, Greg, Ms. Norman or Finance will get in touch with you as to the next steps. So thank you. And you do not have to stay online to listen to the rest of the council meeting. And once again, our deepest condolences to your family. All right, so we will move on to the next item, which is South Fort Ridge Meadows outline plan amendment. Lindsay Francis and Cherie Shindy presenting.
Good afternoon, Council. Thank you for having me here today. My name is Lindsay Francis, and I'm the Senior Planner in the Planning Department. And I'm here to present to you item 6.2 regarding scheduling a non-statutory public hearing for an outline plan amendment. So back in July, the terms of reference for outline plans was amended, and through these amendments, Council became the approving authority for outline plans. Later this afternoon, Administration will also be presenting an amendment to the Land Use Bylaw as Bylaw C1-23 to facilitate this Land Use Bylaw amendment. An amendment to the outline plan is required to reflect the location and extent of the non-conventional development form and how it integrates with the surrounding area. So, outline plans are a non-statutory document, and at the discretion of council, you can have a non-statutory public hearing prior to amending the plan. So since the outline plan guides the development and conceptual layout for a specific area, Administration is recommending that we schedule a non-statutory public hearing on February 14th, 2023 to support the thorough consideration of the proposed amendment. Additional information regarding the proposed outline plan amendment will be provided during the non-statutory public hearing. So, and I also thought I would clarify the process a bit because this is the first outline plan amendment that council will be the approving authority for. So, as you can see on the slides here, we've got the process. So, we've received the application for the outline plan amendment in October 2022. And today, we are requesting that the non-statutory public hearing is scheduled for the outline plan. Also on today's agenda, we've got first reading for the accompanying land use bylaw amendment. And yeah, so that goes with this outline plan. So next we would hold the public hearings for both amendments on February 14th. After the public hearing, the outline plan amendment could be adopted by resolution. And then lastly, we could proceed with second and third readings of the land use bylaw amendment. So, similar to a statutory public hearing, if we do have a non-statutory public hearing, this would be advertised in the Fort Saskatchewan Record, and landowners within 100 meters of the proposed amendment would be mailed a notice, and a copy of the proposed amendment would be available on the city's website. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Great. Thank you very much for your presentation. So I'll open it up to questions first. Councillor Blizzard.
How many people live within 100 meters of this area that they're looking at changing? Or is that anybody that lives already within that South Fort Bend Meadows, like they'd all receive it?
Yeah, I can pull up, just one second, I'll pull up a notification area map. And right now it's currently not developed, but you can see a lot of the affecting properties there are in blue, outlined in blue. The green is the 100 meter radius of the property, so the notification would be all those properties. So there are a handful of them.
Just
over
not
there.
very many. I guess my concern is we're not going to get much public input on this because it doesn't affect many, and maybe that's why it's being rushed. Or anyway.
So that's why we can have like a non-statutory public hearing. That public hearing isn't required with our terms of reference, but we may hold one. So that's why we are recommending to have one.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. So I have a question as well, and so you're going to have the non-statutory public hearing on the 14th, but we also, this is related to the first reading bylaw that we're doing, and is that coming back on the 14th as well?
Yes, to your worship, it would be coming back on the 14th, so we could have the public hearings at the same time, and then the outline plan amendment would have to be approved prior to the land use bylaw amendment.
Okay,
But
so,
it's to do them. The plan is to do them at the same time.
okay, so that gives me the next question. So what happens hypothetically if the outline plan didn't get approved?
Then we would have to pause on the land use bylaw amendment.
To your worship, so outline plan is not a statutory plan, but we recommend that land use bylaw amendments should be in alignment with the outline plan. So we could go forward with the second and third readings for the land use bylaw amendment, but the recommendation would be if you didn't allow the outline plan, you shouldn't allow the land use bylaw amendment for the same proposal.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions? If not, I'll take it. Oh, Councillor Harris, question?
So essentially the amendment, the outline plan would create a consistent type of zoning to what exists just to the north and a little to the east. In other words, in our map, in our package, it's right across from the park and the rink. So they're a similar kind of development. These are the higher density houses with little yards and the driver or the garage in the back. Correct. So a similar kind of. So it's suggesting there would be a consistent type of use in reasonable proximity to what we're already doing. Is that correct?
Through your worship to Councillor Harris, yes, it would be a similar type of housing. However, there is some difference from what was across from the street. So
great. And so you will be discussing that in the next
upcoming
presentation.
item, yes.
Exactly. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure that was clear. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. So there doesn't appear to be any other questions. So what is the wish of council? Somebody like to put a motion on? Councillor. Okay, Councillor Nguyen, go ahead.
I'll move that council schedule a non-statutory public hearing for February 14, 2023 regarding amendments to the South Fort Ridge Meadows outline plan.
Thank you. Would you like to speak to your motion?
I think it's due process as outlined by our department to follow through with this procedure. So yeah, I agree with it.
Okay, thank you. I'll open it up for discussion and debate. Not seeing any. Anything on close? You're good on close. All right, the motion is now closed. Please cast your vote. That is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, the next item that we have is 6.3 to cancel the January 17th Committee of the Whole meeting. Mr. Kaiser, would you like to present that?
Good afternoon, Your Worship and members of council. I didn't really have anything prepared for this one because it's rather straightforward. We had a meeting scheduled for the 17th, but no items populated in the agenda yet, so our recommendation is to cancel.
All right, thank you very much. Councillor Blizzard.
I'll just make the motion that we cancel the meeting of Committee of the Whole, January 17th, 2023.
Great, thank you. Did you wish to speak in favor of your motion?
No.
All right, thank you. It's open for discussion and debate. Not seeing any. I'll close the motion. Please cast your vote. That is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. All right, I'll invite Lindsay and Cherie back. Sorry about that. We had stuck that one extra item in there. So bylaw C1-23 to amend land use bylaw C2320 South Fort Meadows Stage 9 DCA 21 redistricting, first reading. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me again. We'll continue our conversation here on the actual land use bylaw amendment. So this amendment is to add a new direct control district titled DCA 21 Innovative Street Oriented Medium Density Housing with Suites District. So in this presentation, I'm going to go over details on the proposed amendment, how it relates to our planning framework, our recommendation and rationale, and communications, and then we'll have time for questions. So first, the proposed amendment. The subject site of the proposed amendment is shown in orange. It's located along the west side of Greenfield Link, across from the stormwater management facility in the South Fort Meadows neighborhood. The site is currently districted as urban reserve and would be redistricted to the proposed direct control district. So the application was submitted by Altera Engineering on behalf of the South Fort Development Corporation. The purpose of this amendment is to enable street-oriented, medium-density housing with attached rear garages on lots with significantly reduced rear yard setbacks. It introduces a new housing form to the city in the form of semi-detached suites. So the proposed amendment includes three components: adding a new direct control district to the land use bylaw, amending the definition of semi-detached housing and adding a new definition for semi-detached suites, and it would redistrict the subject site to the proposed district. So for context, I wanted to highlight what direct control districts are. It's a unique type of district. Unlike a conventional land use district, direct controls are applied to a specific area, and they're for areas where council wishes to exercise particular control over the use and development of land or buildings. So they must comply with our city's statutory plans. They have customized land use designations, and they have site-specific direct control regulations. So in this case, the direct control district would allow for semi-detached housing with suites with reduced rear setback requirements. So applying this as a direct control district provides the ability to evaluate the housing form on its merits and help determine whether aspects of this concept could be applied more broadly across the city. So the proposed district introduces a non-conventional development form to the city. The exterior of this housing would look similar to the direct control district DCA 16. It is semi-detached housing with suites. It is a rear lane product, and the garages are attached to the rear of the semi-detached houses. There are no backyards, and there is common access between the buildings along the side yards. As mentioned, it is a street-oriented housing product that will have a consistent streetscape design. These houses will have enhanced architectural features and exterior finishings. A minimum of 9 square meter of outdoor amenity space is provided at the front of the house, and the lots are designed to have low maintenance landscaping. So as we alluded to, there is a comparable development. The proposed district is similar to the development concept that was introduced in 2021 with the Direct Control District DCA 16, which is located nearby to the north and across the street, highlighted in red. But the main difference between the two proposed districts is that this would allow suites to be developed in the lower level of the housing units. So for the uses within the proposed district, the permitted uses are semi-detached housing and semi-detached suite. And the discretionary uses are home business, home office, show home, and temporary sales center. Looking at the setbacks within this district, this graphic compares the lot size and the maximum building envelope of semi-detached housing. Also on the left side, we have our RC district, and on the right is the proposed district. The proposed district requires a minimum site width of 8.2 meters and 9.1 meters on corner sites. The minimum site depth is 22 meters, which you can see are shallower than the typical semi-detached housing on lot depths of 34 meters. The development would have reduced rear yard setback of 1 meter, which is much shorter than the 6 meter setback. The proposed district requires a side yard of 1.5 meters, which is similar to the RC district and exceeds the typical 1.2 meter setbacks found in the R2 district. So this amendment also proposes 2 changes to the definition section. If approved, this would be the first area in the city to allow secondary suites within semi-detached housing. So this requires an edit to the definition for semi-detached housing. It would remove the last sentence, which reads, "This land use does not include secondary suites." And a new definition would also be added for semi-detached suites. So since the new definition would only be included in the proposed direct control district, secondary suites in semi-detached housing will still not be allowed in any other district at this time. So now let's take a look at the planning framework. First, the MDP. So within our municipal development plan, the subject site is designated as developing neighborhoods, shown in the bright yellow color. The proposed amendment complies with the MDP policies as it supports developments that address the public realm while encouraging new and innovative housing types to address diverse community needs. The subject site is also located within the South Fort Area Structure Plan, and it's identified as medium density residential. So that means the density is between 36 to 70 dwelling units per net residential hectare. The proposed district will meet the density requirements at 53.4 dwelling units per net residential hectare. And the subject site is located within the South Fort Ridge Meadows Outline Plan shown here. The outline plan provides more details such as local road alignment and block configurations. As per the South Fort ASP, outline plans are required to identify the proposed location and extent of non-conventional development types, such as reduced setback development. As illustrated on the outline plan, the subject site is currently designated as medium density street-oriented townhouses. So to reflect the identity and the reduced setback housing development, an amendment to the outline plan is being processed concurrently with this application. So administration is in support of this application. It aligns with the MDP, which focuses on urban design and placemaking to build a complete community that serves current and future generations. The semi-detached housing with secondary suites demonstrates creativity and innovation, and it provides a suite option for semi-detached housing that provides diversity of housing choices to residents. The street-oriented design promotes eyes on the street and a pedestrian-oriented focus. The enhanced architectural and landscaping design requirements add value to the neighborhood's character. The site is suitable for higher density development as it is in proximity to open spaces and future transit nodes. The on-site parking is reduced compared to the traditional land use districts. However, due to the location of being across from a stormwater management facility and a park site to the north, there is an above average amount of temporary off-site parking. So since the regulations are site specific, the impacts of reduced parking can be observed on a small scale before applying aspects of the concept more broadly. So in conclusion, the proposed amendment is supported by the Municipal Development Plan and the South Fort ASP. So if council gives first reading, we'll have a public hearing, and it will be advertised within the Fort Saskatchewan Record. Again, landowners within that 100 meters of the subject area will be mailed a notice, and a copy of the proposed bylaw will be available on the city's website. The target date for the public hearing is February 14th. So now we can go into questions.
Great. Thank you very much for your presentation. I'll just remind council that this is for first readings, so you can ask clarifying questions, and we'll go from there. Councillor Kelly, you're first.
Yes, thank you. I'm referring to section 1124(7) of the amendments, proposed amendments, and I have some questions in that section. To confirm, and I think you touched on it, but I'm looking to confirm. Side yard setback will be 1.5 meters, meaning 3 meters separation between each building. Is that correct?
Through the chair to Councillor Kelly, yes, that is correct. It would be 1.5 meters on each side.
Okay, thank you. So we have lots of development with 1.2 or 1.5 meters setback, and I'm unaware, and perhaps I've missed it, but I'm unaware of any condition that says private sidewalks between the buildings will be covered by an easement and used as shared accesses and maintained by residents. Can you explain the need for that line in a 1.5 meter setback, please?
So within other districts that have that setback, properties still have their own sidewalk down the side, but in this proposal, it would be a shared walkway that's on the property line, so therefore it would require an easement.
Okay, which gets me to my next question, and that's what I thought. I just needed to confirm. The drainage on these particular lots will be standard back to front?
Could you repeat the question, please?
The drainage for these lots will be the normal back to front drainage? In other words, the property will drain to the street in front, not the alley behind?
Through your worship to Councillor Kelly, I'll have to confirm, but yes, it would be similar to a typical semi-detached housing.
So if we're putting, the normal place for a drainage is on the property line, because that's typically the low point out between the two buildings. If we put a shared sidewalk down there, where exactly is the back to front drainage going to get to the front? How's that going to happen?
So the detailed design of that comes at the development stage, but it has been suggested to have it on either side of the shared walkway.
So we're going to push the drainage water closer to the building rather than further away from it so that we can have a shared sidewalk.
Through your worship to Councillor Kelly, so the drainage water would be going towards the shared sidewalk. The engineering department took a look at it and they felt it could work.
Okay, I'm going to ask Mayor Katcher one more question, and then I'm going to ask, and I'll get back in order. But I don't understand how a raised sidewalk, and sidewalks are typically raised above the soil grade, in the middle of the property will enhance drainage, as opposed to us establishing the sidewalk closer to the building and pushing the water drainage to the property line. I truly don't understand what you're driving at there and how that would be better.
Through your worship to Councillor Kelly, could we bring that information back for the second, for the public hearing and second and third reading?
Yeah, you're going to have to. And if you can get it out to council ahead of time so we can digest it, I'd appreciate that. Thank you. I'll get back in line. Thank you,
Okay,
Murkasher.
I've put you back in order. Councillor Harris?
If you could bring up
Oh, sorry.
If you could bring up a picture of the elevation of the front and the rear, I'd like to see what's being proposed in terms of access in and out of the access and egress. It's different than the other one, and I note from the drawings that you're showing obviously a garage for the basement, a garage for the main and upper floor, correct?
Yes, so it would have one parking stall for the main upper floor, one parking stall for the suite. So right now I've pulled up this image to show where the shared walkway and the entrances are in terms of elevation. I can show you some example photos.
Yeah, because I'm looking at this from the standpoint, so there'll be an access out of the garage into the basement for the side of the unit that has basement access, right?
Yes, so there'll be access through the garage to the suite and on the side of the building as well.
Okay, so the resident of the main floor and upper floor, how do they get in and out of the building?
So they have a separate entrance through their side of the garage and an entrance in the front.
Okay, so the basement comes from the side, which is access from the sidewalk that Councillor Kelly was asking about a few minutes ago. And then there are two points of access into each unit, from the garage and from the front or from the side.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And so in accordance with the fact that it is a secondary suite, the construction of these secondary suites would then be subject to the Safety Codes Act in relation to fire separation and all the other things, window access at X number of square inches of whatever access. Is that correct?
Yeah, the suites would have to be built to the building code, yes.
So there would be an egress out of the window in the event of a fire situation.
I believe so, because it would have to meet the building code, but we can also get the applicant to speak more to that.
Yeah, and I have no problem with that. I understand the concept. So thanks for clarifying the access points. Appreciate that.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Abatoye?
Thank you for your presentation. My first question is, so you had indicated in the package that, so this new, it's a pilot, right? So 14 lots, it's a pilot. It's similar to the DCA 16 that we've already done. So what is the feedback from that pilot, and what have we heard from, what have we learned from that pilot?
Thank you through the chair to Councillor Abatoye. Some of the things that we've learned from that development, it is still being developed right now, but one of the things is like the front yard setback. The minimum for that district was 3 meters, but we increased it to 4 meters here to help around the corner cuts and having utilities run through that area, so they don't have to go under decks at all, or no variances had to be issued. So we have looked at some of the lessons that we learned from that one and tried to incorporate it into this direct control district.
Okay, thank you. And so, I mean, when you talked about how secondary suites are not allowed in any semi-detached, I try to think that what is the reason why? Because I know that there are suites like that in Edmonton that are permitted. What is the reason we're not permitting it, and why are we permitting it on this pilot? And I think the biggest red flag for me was parking. And you talked about how there is the the storm water thing and all of that, and I'm actually really concerned because I think that will be an issue, right? Parking is a big issue. So it's just 14 lots. It's a pilot, right? And so, but how are we going to ensure that parking wouldn't be an issue with this? And I understand, like I said, it's a pilot, right? And so we can learn from whatever lessons, whatever mistakes we make with this one. But I think parking is going to be a big issue here.
So for this one, it like you said, it is a pilot. So it's the first area with that the reduced parking, so there'd be one stall for the house and one for the suite, and they are sort of built for smaller households, and the rationale there is that there is lots of temporary off-site parking that can accommodate. So there's areas in front of the stormwater management pond and the
That's very
park.
specific. So that this can carry on to other areas because this area has that advantage. Can you take me to the photo of the second one, the one with the green one? No, down. Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
So just looking at the rear yard reduction, so that space where there is a reduction, I'm comparing to the conventional one. Is that's the space that's going to be used for the garage, or what's that space going to be used for?
Yeah, so if you look at the sort of where the green is, that would be the building pocket. So this would include the garage and the house. So there's a 1 meter setback. This would just be a little concrete area to drive right into the garage. So there'd be no backyard. It'd be 1 meter away from the property line.
Wow, that's tiny. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Councillor Nguyen?
Yeah, thanks. And thanks for your presentation. My question has to do with some words that you've used to activate a street. And my question is, why have you chosen to do that on a major collector roadway as opposed to this type of innovative design on a non-major collector like we see in this proposal?
Sorry, could you, I'm not exactly 100% sure what you're asking. Could you rephrase that?
So you're talking about activating the street, so because there is a part of a front yard, or we'll call it the front yard of this type of product, which is conducive to social gatherings and for people being out there. So, and that is going to face a major collector roadway. So why have we not piloted this type of project on a less busy street for vehicular traffic?
So actually our MDP supports having a street-oriented development towards collector roads and areas like this one. So there is a lot of support for that in our MDP.
Through your worship to Councillor Nguyen, I could add to that. Street activation is recommended on all streets, not just local or collectors. This area especially, it's a collector road. There is medium and high density around it. There are parks and open spaces along the street. So there's going to be people there. And that's why, so when people walk, it's just going to be an interesting environment when you have street-oriented development around the street. So this is a suitable area for that kind of development. And because it's a medium density, you kind of put it along collector roads or arterial roads.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that answer. I guess my concern arises with if there are families that are using their only yard really as a front yard on a
We're not
busy
debating
street.
it. Questions?
Sorry. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Blizzard?
Yeah, I've got some of the same concerns that were already brought up. So we've got 14 units that with 2 cars in each, 2 garages in each unit. So that's 28 cars. There's only room to park the cars on the lot in those garages. My concern, and I will have a question, my concern is that because there's going to be limited storage, if the upstairs rents the basement, you don't have basement storage. The downstairs, even if it's only one person, the garage could be storage. So in front of the house, there's only one spot, because I'm looking at it, it's about 25, 26 feet. That would hold one normal car. And I thought I heard you mention something about temporary off-site parking. Did you say that? And where would it be, and why would temporary off-site be okay?
So the temporary off-site parking would be across the street where the stormwater management facility is. So there's no residents there. So you can park on the street there, as well as the park site just north of this location. So it is a reasonable distance to go from your car to your house.
So you're proposing that these be built and allow parking on both sides. How wide are these roads? How wide is the road that's going to be in front?
through your worship to Councillor Blizzard, the road is 24-meter wide, and temporary off-site parking is referred to the street parking, which is in front of the house and across the street, and slightly to the north.
Okay, and then just snow removal might be an issue.
So to add more to it, so typically you have houses on the both sides of the road, and so you get street parking maybe on one side of the road. In this case, there is more opportunity for street parking because there is in the front, across, and to the north.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, I'm next in the order. So the question that I have, and I don't know if you can answer it, but if the developer is listening, they can at least be prepared for it for the public hearing. So is the secondary suite going to be mandatory when they're built? Or if somebody buys it, can they opt to just have it as a regular home without, without the conditions of the secondary suite in it?
I guess they could keep it all as one unit if they prefer. So the way it is designed, that the access to the suite is just through the garage there. So so they would have to go through the garage to get to the basement area, but it is not mandatory to be like rented out as a suite.
So coming back to that, so somebody decides that they want to buy one of these and they want to adjust the plan, they could actually adjust the plan so that they don't have to have the access through the basement, couldn't they?
Yes, they could.
Yeah, so this is only in case somebody wants to have the suite.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I need to know. Thank you. Councillor Macon?
Just on the parking questions, I just wanted to ask about a comparison. So 24 meters, I know that that's quite wide, but just to compare that to where we've had parking problems, Calvert Wind, I believe that's the name of it, it was designed with only like a 7-meter wide road, is that right? Or is
To
it
your
9?
worship to Councillor Macon, that was a local road, so the road right of way would be 18 meters. The driving surface and the alleys would be, I don't know exactly, but between 7 to 9 meters.
Yeah, so where we see a 24-meter, even with parking on both sides, that's got a lot of sufficient space in between.
So this is a wider road because it's a collector, but the 24-meter includes the sidewalks on the both sides, parking lanes and driving lanes.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I have on round 2, Councillor Kelly, you're first.
Thank you again. It might be that the drainage is resolved by placing the eaves trough downspouts or leaders at the front of the property, front of the house. Is that what you're thinking on this development?
Through your worship to Councillor Kelly, I don't remember the conversation about eaves trough during the review of this district. It was, what I remember is the engineering felt that the drainage will have to be accommodated on the either side of that shared walkway. And that was doable.
Well, perhaps you could address that in your response to council on the other matters.
Will do.
Thank you. The lot coverage on this particular proposed development, I think I read, is 70% of the surface area by building. That is higher than the other developments that we have to date in Fort Saskatchewan. Is that correct?
Through your worship to Councillor Kelly, yes, that's correct.
Which then means, of course, that there's less available dirt surface to absorb the water, which we've been told is important. And I understand that it is important in handling surface water drainage and surface water issues within our developed neighborhoods. So therefore, drainage becomes a problem. Address that as well, would you please, in your response back?
Yes.
On that note as well, then, one last question, Mayor Katcher. You said you're indicating that the requirement here will be zero, I hesitate to pronounce the word, but zero maintenance front yards, is that correct?
Lower zero. It's meant to be minimal landscaping, so it's easy to maintain.
Will that be installed as part of the original building construction so that we have some uniformity and we're assured that it would be done without issue?
Through your worship to Councillor Kelly, we could ask that question to developer next time.
Or we could ask the question, or we could make it a requirement of the zoning. So either way, can you get back to us on that as well? I'd appreciate it.
Okay.
Mayor Katcher, I think I'm done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Blizzard, further questions?
Just because we were talking about roads, I don't know how wide that one was, but we've had issues on Allard Way. How wide is Allard Way? And I'm not talking at the indents, the normal width of the street.
That one I'm not sure.
Okay. I just like a comparison because we've had lots of issues there.
They can bring that back.
Thank you.
For the public hearing.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, I'm not seeing any additional questions, so would somebody like to go ahead? Councillor Abatoye?
Okay, I'll make the motion that council gives first reading to bylaw C1-23 to amend land use bylaw C23-20 by, as presented. And further, that's a public hearing be scheduled.
Thank you. Would you like to speak in favor of your motion?
Yes, for sure. I actually think that this is a really innovative way to figure out if there is a need for this in our community. I know that last year I heard about people talking about secondary suites, permitted in the city. So I think this is one way to achieve that. And again, it's a pilot, right? But I also think it's a way to, some of the things we've heard about housing is to provide diversity of housing in our community, affordability and whatnot. So first reading, definitely, we're going to hear from the applicants and the public to see if there's support for this. So from where I stand, I think it might be a good idea. There's probably a target audience for it, but we'll see. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. The motion is now open for discussion and debate. Councillor Harris?
I would support this particular resolution going forward because I think it would be an innovative housing type in our community. I talked to the developer about it a while ago. He had mentioned it in passing. And I really think it might have some technical issues to address, but I'm sure that we can, through the fullness of time, deal with the things as Councillor Kelly has talked about. The drainage issue obviously has to be managed in an appropriate manner. We've seen drainage problems in the zero lot lines, but that's, again, it's another issue. So I think we can do that. It'll be interesting to see how many people actually buy these units if they do hit the market, if we approve everything, or whether they just keep them. Grandma can live in the basement, in other words, although I don't know why you'd want your grandmother in the basement, but that's another problem. But other than that, I do support this for first reading and possibly second and third.
Okay, thank you. Myself, I'll support first reading. Technically, we could do this as part of consent agenda, but we know with first readings, there's typically lots of questions that are going to be asked. And I think it's really important during the first reading for those questions to come out so that when it comes back for the public hearing, there's, fair warning to administration and to the developer that they can, be prepared to hopefully answer these questions. So, I'll definitely support first reading. I think that's the role of our role and responsibility to get it back in front of us so that we can make an informed decision. So thank you. Councillor Kelly?
Thank you. I too will support first reading. I know administration has heard from council on several questions and concerns with this proposal. I anticipate that those questions and concerns will be addressed for second reading. I'd like to know when it's finished, how many how many original owners opted for construction of a secondary suite at time of purchase versus how many opted for a single standalone or a single family residence type orientation, just to see what the uptake is on this particular idea, so we can have that information hopefully for the next time this comes around. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm not seeing any additional discussion and debate. Councillor Abatoye, anything on closing? The motion is now closed. Please cast your vote for first reading.
Your worship, we're just waiting for Councillor Abatoye.
I don't think it's come up. Has it come up populated? I didn't think mine came up. Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't. Okay. That's strange. She said she voted. I said I didn't vote. Okay. But I would vote in favor, so. That is definitely strange. Okay. That is carried unanimously. All right. Thank you for your presentation. We look forward to discussing this more at the public hearing. All right. Are there any notice of motions? Not hearing any. Are there any points of interest? No. Any councillor inquiries to administration? Councillor Kelly?
Yes, please. Thank you. I'm going back over a year now with my memory. In budget 22, so a year and a bit ago, there was discussion in council and a proposal to acquire land for a city, essentially a city boneyard. And that proposal was turned down by council. I thought administration would be bringing back a report looking at alternatives to that particular proposal, and I haven't seen or heard of anything yet. Am I mistaken? Is that now a dead issue, or are we expecting something in the future?
Mr. Fleming?
Through your worship, when you say a boneyard, are you referring to the materials handling site?
I'm referring, Troy, to the property, the 3-acre parcel approximately is south of the cemetery, across from the jail. That property was to be phased out and a new property purchased as part of that budget.
I think he's talking about the snow yard.
Yeah, so through your worship, yeah, so the site you're talking about just south of Clover Park there is, that's what we refer to as our materials handling site, and you're right, it has to be cleared out and there'll have to be some remediation work done there. Council approved funding for administration to undertake a study to look at options to replace that, and through the course of that debate, council also asked administration to look at the possibility of having a snow dump included with that project as well. So that project is underway and should be back to council in the first half of this year. Actually, I think sometime in Q1. We don't have it scheduled yet, but it's our intent to bring that information back to council for consideration then.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Harris, questions?
Yeah, question I've got is, what is the standard for the snow removal that we've got? Because I look into a lot of the cul-de-sacs that we're in the process of removing snow from, and I really think it's overkill. I know that there's a certain depth of snow on a road that ultimately triggers when we actually go in. But I look into a cul-de-sac right across from my house, and I don't see any problems with snow or the need to remove the snow. Quite frankly, I think it's wasteful. And every other cul-de-sac that I've driven around in the city, I've driven all over the city over the last 4 days. And by and large, I don't see any areas that ultimately, unless we got another major snowstorm in which we'd be going back in and doing snow removal. So what's the standard? Because I really think it's wasteful, and I noticed that personally. Last year, we did more than sufficient snow removals. So collectors and arterials and highways and all that sort of stuff makes eminent sense. But these residential areas, I don't see a lot of problem. So I'd be curious to get something back from administration as just to refresh our memory as to the standard and why we're going in and doing it. I think we could probably wait to the next snowstorm and then do it, and nobody would notice the difference, quite frankly. So that's my question.
Do you have an answer?
Yeah, well, through your worship, I think what I'll do is take that back and provide council some follow-up information on what the decision was. I think on the website it says 75 millimeters of buildup. We would go in and look at it, but I know we do give some discretion to Public Works to look at when the right time to go in at. I know there's some advantages to us in getting the accumulation out when there's an opportune time to do so. So if you've got a dump of snow, if you wait for the next one and the next one, it just makes each clear that much more difficult. So they do, if they do see a window where there's been a dump of snow and they can get in there and clear it out, it actually helps them a lot with the next one. So, but I'll get some more comprehensive information and send council the rationale.
Yeah, it's not a criticism of the work that the department does. They do a fabulous job, and I think the roads and our trails are in excellent condition this year. It's just a question of revisiting and reacquainting council's point of view in relation to snow removal, because I think it's a little excessive and we could probably save some dough if we didn't have to go in and do it.
Okay, that's just taken as a question. Okay, yep. Thank you. He'll come back with something. All right, so that is all of the items for the open session. So I will take a motion to go in camera. Councillor Macon, would you like to make that motion? Go ahead.
Sure, I'll make the motion that we go in camera for reasons covered under FOIP.
Thank you. I'll close the motion. Please cast your vote.
Oops, I shut my positive. Yes. In favor.
I voted too. That is carried unanimously. All right, thank you. So we will now be in camera. Thank you.